I'm Tom Cole, Head of Horticulture at Cape Manor College. Hedges have been used traditionally in all forms of landscape for literally thousands of years. A hedge basically is just a single barrier of plants which can either be evergreen or deciduous, which acts as a boundary to separate you from your neighbour, or it could be to actually hide your neighbour or other things outside of the garden. They can be used to actually pen in and contain garden areas and even livestock. There's a whole multitude of plants that you can use and are open to you at all good garden centres and nurseries. Most gardeners still use traditional hedging plants such as the beech and the hornbeam and others, for the fact really that they're so easy to maintain. They don't really create a lot of problems for other neighbouring plants and really act as a great foil for other plants to be shown against. They only need to be clipped on average 2 to 3 times a year, as long as you're using a good sharp pair of shears or even using petrol-driven hedge trimmers or even electric forms as well. If you want to try something a little bit different for a hedge plant, then you can't really go far wrong with the selection next to me here. Particularly this one here, which is the hazel, a twisted hazel. Very informal, doesn't have to be clipped, so it's very precisely looking like a hedge, but nonetheless creates a good barrier to separate you from one garden or the next, or from your neighbour and so on. It will lose its leaves, but in fact in the winter it really comes into its own because you really see the twisted, contorted stems. If though you wanted something a little bit more evergreen, then alternative holly plants to the norm are the best. Go for variegated forms. You can get some really good colours these days, some great greens and creams, through to white variegations coming through. And if you're lucky, some of those might even fruit. They will prefer to be clipped on a more regular basis to produce a more definite shape. One which is more pyramidal in shape, so slightly vertical on the sides, but sort of mitered on the top, really to sort of shed off any excess water and snow, should you have it. But these are quite large plants. It'd be worth actually considering smaller versions, plants which probably only get to around about a foot, maybe 2 foot in height. For those of you who don't really want to have a huge 6 foot plus hedge and really want something just to contain a border or even just to step over, then these sort of mini hedges are perfect. Just behind me you've got a very traditional box hedge, which can be used in a formal or an informal setting. Or you can use fuschia, but beware, if you're using fuschia, you're going to have to cut it down every year, so it's a hedge for most of the time and then disappears before it grows up again and gives you all these flowers. If you want something a little bit more permanent though, berberis, and there are many forms. There's a purple form here which is dense, it has prickles so it keeps other things out, but also it tends to retain its structure. Whatever you used, take care of planting. Make sure you get the perfect plant for your location, check the soil type, check the aspect, and then go along to your garden centre and really have a look around. There are good garden centres out there who are really keen and willing to help you get the right and perfect plant for your situation.